2018 has already proven to be an eventful year for my administration, but we have conquered every challenge and maximized every opportunity. Days in government sometimes feel like dog years, but because of the diligence and commitment of all of the people who serve Atlanta, I am proud to say this morning that the state of our city is strong. As Atlanta continues to grow, it is important that we remember to look back and pull forward residents, communities, and businesses who are being left behind. This is paramount to our continued ability to remain a leader on the regional, national, and international stage. What has drawn people and organizations to Atlanta in droves is our warm weather and our warm hearts. We will host the 100,000 Opportunities Youth Initiative, giving nearly 2,000 youth in our city a chance to work for some of the city of Atlanta has secured much-needed resources for several other critical areas, including $60 million in New Markets tax credit from the U.S. Treasury, which will help spur economic development in parts of our city where it is needed most. Just as I have been thoughtful and meticulous about the leadership of my senior team, I'm equally deliberative about the policies my administration sets forth on behalf of our city. We are charging full steam ahead with enacting changes to our ethics policies in the city of Atlanta. Some would say they've heard similar ideas from others. And to the others, I say thank you. A wise man once said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit."
All right, so just to kind of sum it up, the mayor spoke right at about 30 minutes. I'm sure they had a 30-minute window. This was the State of the City breakfast. State of the City breakfast. I have notes kind of all over the place. Let's talk about what she declared. She declared Atlanta to be the crown jewel of the nation, strong together. Kasim Reed was not mentioned. She mentioned Mayor Sam Maxwell. She definitely mentioned the Jackson family, as you know, Maynard Jackson. And she mentioned a couple of others. And she, of course, had all the politicians and so forth to stand. Coca-Cola, again, wrote the check for the breakfast. Coca-Cola sponsors a lot. And the interesting thing is Coca-Cola sponsors a lot of food in Atlanta, a lot of galas, a lot of awards, a lot of things dealing with the city, the history of the city. Of course, it is Atlanta's largest corporation born out of the city. So it's no short of slight to see Coca-Cola highly involved on this level. She talked, Warm Atlanta. They talked a lot about, she talked a lot about that we should be One Atlanta. So One Atlanta is the theme going forward, crown jewel of the nation. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be banners, t-shirts, and so forth. That's a slogan if ever I've seen one. Hashtag One Atlanta. And Atlanta talks a lot about diversity and inclusion. Unfortunately, we still live and exist in that divisiveness, not just with race, gender, sex, but also the have and the have-nots. Another place to be really concerned is this partnership with Wells Fargo. I don't know how Wells Fargo keeps slipping their way in. I would have loved to see higher numbers on the initiatives that they want to do for the youth. The one number we heard her drop on the youth is these job opportunities or partnerships or mentoring for only 2,000. Atlanta is about to burst the seams at 7 million. We're just, according to the population board, we're just 300,000 shy of having 7 million residents. I would love to hear numbers like 1 million youth, right? And so we need just a whole lot more emphasis on that, especially when you think about she's going to create 2 positions, one being this education, what did they call it? Director. Now, during the campaign season, remember we were doing Real Mayoral Candidates of Atlanta, had a chance to go directly from the now mayor-elect now mayor of Atlanta, 60th mayor of Atlanta, write to the superintendent with them both in the same room, one after the other, and ask them about education and why does not Atlanta have a better representation when we talk about education. The one product that we know Atlanta, well, I know Atlanta, nobody else seems to get it, but the one thing you can get in Atlanta is an education. We have 700 plus higher systems of learning in this city, and not enough emphasis on education. This, when she talks about Summerhill is being encroached upon by Georgia State. Summerhill, she talked about transportation, this bus rapid system. Well, you know, MARTA is now called the ATL. I don't know why that. Anyway, but she talked about this transportation, this miracle transportation system that's only going to go from Midtown to Summerhill. Now, one thing she talked about was there's a new company in Midtown that has 5,000 employees. Well, that's one company, and other companies are moving in, and a lot of residential area has moved into Midtown. Midtown is new 24. Midtown is one place in the city where we have 24-hour living. I exist in that area from the time from midnight to 6 a.m. and it is a 24-hour city there. So the move one thing, a lot of people can't afford to live in Midtown, so the affordable housing is going over in Summerhill, but then you got a company that's going to have 5,000 employees. Now, you know, in being employed in Atlanta, you pretty much need affordable housing. I don't care, because of the way the rent downtown Atlanta is too damn high, as they say, so you will need affordable living. So these initiatives that they've got to drive over to Summerhill, we've got to make sure that when you talk about having affordability in Atlanta, it's not just improving the buildings, but are the people in Summerhill, will they be not just able to take that transportation to those jobs in Midtown, but have the resources where they can then educate themselves. Like I said, they're being encroached by Georgia State. It's all of Summerhill getting that Georgia State education, right? So we have to make sure that affordability is not just about giving a person an affordable place to live, but making sure that throughout their life, they have the same resources that will allow them to get to a point where they can afford a lifestyle, right? It's not just about, let's just keep a strip of poverty in all of this development. And that's unfortunately the way Atlanta looks at affordability. Make sure that all these great neighborhoods have maintained a strip of poverty. And we have to look at that differently. We've got to get them to start investing, not just in buildings and infrastructure, but to really start investing in the quality of life and education for all. But when you drop down from that, talking about 5,000 employees coming in, a rapid system and so forth, the rapid system going a mile and a half. Come on now. To the fact that you can only guarantee 2,000 youth connection to all of this development coming into this city. We need that number to be much higher. Invest in Atlanta forgivable loans, $5 million initiative there. Unfortunately, that is with Wells Fargo. Well, the Atlanta foreclosure crisis has very much to do with Wells Fargo and the relationship that homeowners ended up with them. We don't want to see any kind of partnership with Wells Fargo. And I'm not understanding why in Atlanta, the home of several historic black banks and other institutions that have been more friendly to our communities, why they are not at the table instead of Wells Fargo. And we're going to have to continue to push the city to stop dealing with this Wells Fargos can get in our city, can get in our churches, and continue to get into our communities. And unfortunately, no. It's downright saddening and disheartening what they usher our citizens into in relationship to the home foreclosure crisis. Transparency, broken, fix, restore trust. That is pretty much her administration, restore trust. Again, Kasim Reed was not mentioned. A lot of issues going on there with that administration, a lot of investigations, seizures, all kind of stuff, indictments, all of that. So she spent a little bit of time on talking about transparency. This new online portal, Open Checkbook, is going to allow you to go onto this portal and see what's going on with the budget. Hello there. Julianne Malvo is watching. Oh, hell. Queen Julianne Malvo, thank you so much. And I'm going to let that sister break down these finances when she goes back and watches this. But we really need to be concerned about that. So open checkbook will allow you to go in and see what the government, what the spending is. One major problem we have always had in Atlanta. This city has never been short on funding. This city has never been short on opportunities. This city has never been short on connection to government. There's a lot of money that rolls in throughout this city. Unfortunately, finding out about that money, they have a real hard time letting citizens know what's available. Very disheartening. During the Obama administration, residents of this city were able to access $50,000 if they were upside down in their home. Unfortunately, they only had the city only gave a 24-hour notice that the money was available and it was going to end up going back. And the last administration sat on so many opportunities that we did not find out about. Another thing that they talked about was this One Atlanta, again, the diversity, equitable, open, inclusiveness. One thing about Atlanta is a brown city, but it is also the city where the minority treats the minority like a minority. I don't understand that. When do we become the majority? Okay, we're majority voters, majority leadership, majority residents inside the city of Atlanta and out, but yet the minority in the city treats the minority like a minority. All right, going back again, let me go back up. Education. Also, the reform, the criminal justice system reform. Poverty is no longer criminal to be poor. Poverty, not criminal. I wrote that down. Criminal justice reform, life after incarceration. That is going to be not a pet peeve, but a pet project of hers as a family where her father spent time incarcerated, and as a result, their family had to make do without their patriarch. And of course, it was a system that had nothing to do with rehabilitation. So to see them concentrate on that, some rehabilitation going back into our justice system, eliminating the cash bonds, meaning that if you cannot pay your bond, they're going to eliminate that based on criteria of offenses. So therefore, those that are poor, and that's one thing this city makes a lot of money off of, is people that are poor. Whereas if you get a traffic ticket, can't pay your traffic ticket, then you're on parole a year or two, paying all these extra fees and things like that. So there's a lot that cash bond is going to be people sitting in jail because they can't pay the bond. They're going to be able to come out on their own recognizances, the signature bond, and so forth. I mean, bonds of like $200 to $1,000 that you don't own property, or you family, nobody has that kind of money. And we're talking about people going in jail for jaywalking, or one thing that you can get arrested here for is what is the thing? I'm trying to think. There was one thing that people continuously get arrested for. Just a lot of things that they put a warrant out for you for different fees and different things like that. And so really minor offenses where you literally go get processed, but then if you can't pay the bond, you don't get out. So those things are going to be eliminated. Again, just being poor, just being below the poverty line. Again, if you are employed in Atlanta, you hover around that poverty line. And we know by the numbers, no matter where you are on the income level, in this state of our economy, everybody at the end of the month is at zero. I don't care if you are 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, trying to maintain the lifestyle that it takes to not have to exist around a lot of the poverty. We know for a fact, actual and factual, that regardless of the income level, too many people in the city of Atlanta at the end of the month end up at zero. So we want to help people to maintain that. So, outside the city of Atlanta, other mayors in smaller cities are also doing their state of the city. So we're listening very intently, because Atlanta, inside the perimeter, has a lot of competition outside the perimeter. So when you hear the city of Atlanta going for large companies, and let me tell you, trying to attract Amazon has attracted, it's like that. You reach for the moon, you will always be among the stars, which is closer. Or you reach for the stars, you'll always be on the moon, whichever one closer to Earth, okay? So what they're doing, don't sleep on it, whether we get Amazon or not. What the city is doing to attract an Amazon is attracting a whole lot of other businesses, because they know that they can come in, because if you're telling Amazon you got a job pool, you have got development, that they can make this, that, and the other. One thing about Amazon cannot be profitable if they cannot make deliveries. And so what is the issue with making deliveries? One thing about building up a transportation system, a rapid system, Amazon, first and foremost, has very unique delivery methods. Those delivery methods depend on people being able to drive, walk, and ride bicycles. And Amazon is a delivery genius, right? So you will need, in order to attract an Amazon, you need to get your transportation together, because that's a lot of packages that have to move in and about this city as well as this region. Even though they're thinking about their headquarters here, you're talking about being able to, if you want their headquarters inside the perimeter, you need for people to be able to get inside the perimeter. One of the things Amazon will want to know is, how have you reduced the traffic, the gridlock? Okay, because you can't be an Amazon and your employees consistently having to be 20, 30 minutes late. But Amazon, who's going to actually work in the building? This is a company that's the best of technology. And think about this also, a lot of what Atlanta, you don't hear inside the perimeter talk about, there are a number of people who live in the city of Atlanta that work for top companies. You can't even say Fortune 500 companies anymore, because these companies are not even really on the radar. They are beyond Fortune 500. But there are so many people who live in Atlanta that work for companies that are globally located around the world, and they live in Atlanta because of the already existing affordability, and their affordability is raising the rent in the city. So a lot of notes I took, but getting back to the transparency, and almost like transparency. Here we go. Transparency. Oh, the other position I want to talk about was the human sex trafficking, education and sex trafficking. Two positions that she's creating. Again, we have already heard from the superintendent of APS. They're not excited about that director of education, which means that essentially a liaison. But the APS needs to understand, even though APS is separate from the city of Atlanta, it's Atlanta Public Schools, but they have their own board, they have their own budget, they have the superintendent. But a lot of times people go to the city for issues that are going on with the school system. People, in moving to the city, they want to know what's at the schools. I asked the superintendent, name your best school. Who's your model school? Because too many times when we talk about Atlanta and we talk about education, we go quickly to the problems and we don't cite the successes and the solutions. The fact that our mayor, hashtag Mayor Keisha, can stand there and say that she is a product of the Atlanta Public Schools. When you go to ask the Atlanta Public Schools, well, what are some of your best successors? The superintendent was stumped. She couldn't immediately name a school. She didn't immediately name a school. And I'm like, that does not make sense. You should be able to name a school. You should be able to name a model that you have in your school that can be replicated across the country. You should be able to name several teachers that have been innovative, or that are bringing you innovative, especially when it relates to technology. Atlanta, it's funny because Atlanta has had several developments considered to be technology parks all over the city, inside and outside the perimeter, but yet we were slow to grasp that technology, and definitely slow to grasp the work from home. I will say that in monitoring Atlanta's transportation and traffic, our traffic patterns in the city and in America, nobody's talked about this, but our traffic patterns have changed. Our rush hours have changed. And it's interesting to watch and see the direction the cars are now going, and that there has been reduction I think in that. And then two, the growth of rideshare. The growth of rideshare has done this city very well, especially outlying cities, outlying communities that still to this day do not have and do not want public transportation. People have a right to say they do not want public transportation. It has not served the city inside the perimeter well. And in its current state, it will not serve any community well. And we have to mention that, yes, crime is a factor. Intimidation of using the system is a factor, but only because the city does not understand how the city has truly grown. What are some things that people like? The entertainment that's going on in this city, it's still not exactly pedestrian friendly. The police chief just shy of our election had to say to the police force, listen, you've got to step up policing. You've got to step it up overnight. What goes on at 7 o'clock also goes on at 2 a.m., also goes on at 4 a.m. So you can't think that the city has a bedroom community anymore. We are moving towards a 24-hour city, and that is not being monitored as much as it should be. Again, sex trafficking, of course, several new laws have been passed. You heard her mention there was also a grant for funding that's actually going to fund that position. I guess a director, I think she said a director, I forget, I'm going to go back and find out what the title of that's going to be. And of course, where there is a director, there is a department and so forth, and it's going to trickle down in both of those positions reporting to the mayor. Now, keep in mind, the school board, all of that stuff is elected. What we did not hear in this state of the city is policing. We did not. I don't think we heard that. And again, a speech just maybe shy of 30 minutes or right at 30 minutes, a little bit of a video played prior to that. But we did not because, in fact, I'm going to go look this up because remember the mayor asked for a number of resignations. Some she said she would not accept, so those people would remain in their position. But in this transparency, broken, fix, restore trust, we did not hear about policing. The mayor does get to appoint a police chief. And, of course, the police chief, hashtag Chief Erica, it may still be on the job. We need to find out what's going on with the policing there. Surely the city needs to add policing. I saw this morning I saw just this morning, I can't remember, I saw a job fair notice about somebody hiring about 40 police, and I don't think it was a city. I think it was another entity or something. I got to remember on that, but we did not hear. So I think after this state, now mind you, this was an event sponsored by Coca-Cola where the mayor is invited to give a state of, but for all real true answers on what's going on in the city, hey, you got to attend the city council meetings. You got to keep an eye on the mayor's office. Stay in contact with the mayor's office. They want to be transparent. You see the mayor out. Every time you see the mayor out, every time you see any of these people of leadership out, approach them and ask your questions. Remember, we want to move from assumptions to asking. So those are my notes as we just watched the mayor, the 60th mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, hashtag Mayor Keisha, who succeeded Mayor Kasim Reed, who is pretty much of his administration is now under investigation. And we've seen that before. We've been there before in the city of Atlanta, having had a mayor after his term served jail time. Hopefully that's not going to be the case with Kasim Reed and some of those part of his administration. But all in all, really good, really decisive actions, diligent, she noted, some really good things to keep an eye on. Again, the one thing we did not hear from, and we didn't even hear about it really throughout the campaign. I don't think any of the candidates really truly had policing as part of their campaign. I know one or two may have addressed it as it related to the LGBT. Oh, she also talked about LGBT liaison position or something as well. So policing was only addressed as it related to the LGBT community. Again, that is something that focused on Midtown. A lot of Midtown conversation. Georgia Tech was mentioned. Not Georgia Tech, Georgia State. I think Georgia State is really going to become kind of a mascot school for the city. I think, one, because you look at the development that Georgia State, all around the city hall, Georgia State is everywhere. And Georgia State has, purchased several other schools, so a lot of rebranding going on around the region for them. But I'm still, two things, education was mentioned. While I still don't think they get a sense that education, hey there guys coming in, I still don't think that the city has a true understanding, or the region has a true understanding that really our number one product in this city, whether we get Amazon or any of the film, we didn't hear talk about the film industry. We didn't hear talk about that. But then that's more of a state thing, I guess, than a city thing as well. But one of the things we did not hear about policing, we didn't hear about that. What was it? Education, as far as education really being our number one product, y'all. I'm telling you, that's our number one. Real estate is, if you're looking to make any kind of investment, you might want to find you a good real estate investment, because and I was privy to a conversation about student housing. If you are looking to do some real estate, let me tell you, honey, remember what I just said. Education is really our number one product, whether we attract Amazon or any of these other companies. Education. So if you're looking to do anything with real estate, you might want, hey Donald, you might want to think about student housing, because of the number of education facilities in this city. A lot of that downtown living, a lot of actually the students are probably going to end up being pushed outside of the city, which is why we need to look at transportation, because when you think about the rents that are going on in downtown, again, this whole Midtown initiative that's going on, you want to look at what's going on with student housing. There are a lot of people building some serious wealth on student housing, and because I always seem to end up in some good spaces, in the overheard, just pulling from the overheard, I do it like that, pulling from the overheard, real estate going towards student housing seems to be the new trend, and if we're behind on that, might want to look at that. And you can look at that like on the Airbnb. Super Bowl, I don't know that we should put as many eggs in that basket as we think, because just like with the Olympics, and think about this. Just like with the Olympics, Super Bowl becomes a regional takeover. The Olympics, I think Atlanta didn't fare as well with the Olympics. We can boast about it. We can brag about it. There are a couple of infrastructures that's still thriving to this day. One went to student housing, just like I just said. So I'm not willing to put many eggs in the Super Bowl basket, because while it is probably a week-long to 2-week-long event, that if you're gonna work with it, or if you're gonna have some kind of Super Bowl initiative, it starts now. It starts now, whatever you're doing. We're on the countdown, and we will count it down each week with each game. Yeah, everybody wants the Falcons to go in there, but think about it from a perspective of where you are and how you can benefit inside and outside the perimeter. Looking at this, watching what Atlanta mayor is talking about, watching what some of the other mayors. Don't forget, Atlanta is just inside the perimeter. There are other mayors. I know here in Douglas County, we've already had our state, the city. Look at some of these other mayors and other positions that are like mayors, that now will follow Mayor Keisha in giving their state of their city, state of the county. We need to keep an eye on that, because Atlanta, hey, if Amazon does come, who says it's going to be inside the perimeter? I mean, there are other cities competing for that as well. And again, trying to attract an Amazon is winning a lot of other business for the city and inside and outside the perimeter. So we need to talk about that. One of the things that we are doing at DryerBuzz.com is we are looking at what we call Atlanta 360. And basically what I did was, and I do these live streams down near the Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the Mercedes logo in mind. If you take the Mercedes logo and you place it on the map over the city of Atlanta, and you look at those three quadrants, meaning that if you break the city up in third quadrant, three quadrants, 1/3 here, 1/3 at the top, left, and bottom, those three quadrants are not equal. 1/3 of this city is not faring well at all. Actually, probably 2/3. But the second third is catching on, but that third third is not doing as well. And unfortunately, that third is in wait mode. It's in arrested development, waiting for initiatives like this. Listen, $5 million loan initiative, that's a drop in the bucket. That's not going to do anything. The city's going to sit on most of that money trying to get leadership positions, trying to get people in these positions. The mayor term will be over probably before they even start breaking ground on any of this money. Or these initiatives. It's going to sound good in a bunch of speeches, but we need to see these things really get to work. How long is it going to take them to put these people in position? And then, the right end of this thing and other projects and other funding that the previous administration left untouched, and so forth. But let me see. Again, crown jewel of a nation, strong together, warm weather, warm hearts, warm Atlanta, transparent, fixing what's broken, restoring trust, open checkbook, one Atlanta, diversity, equity. Atlanta's always talked about that. And the funny part about it is Atlanta always talks about diversity, but then they only mention black and white. So that tells you right there. But it's a new day. As one. New day as one, and the focus is on thriving. About a 30-minute speech from Mayor Keisha. All right, that's the way I saw it. Buzz it or bash it. I'll look for you guys' comments as you watch this and other summations of what has happened today in the state of the city. And don't forget, we are barreling down. Not only are we barreling to the Super Bowl, y'all, but we are also barreling to midterm elections. And stay tuned. We'll go live again today because we're getting ready to head out on a road trip. Going to try to ride down to Montgomery to see this memorial. So I'll be bringing you that as well. I hope everybody having a great day. And you can always binge on Buzz. Just scroll back through the timeline.
What up, this is Ludacris, and I'm disturbing the peace at DryerBuzz.com. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy, Cat Williams. Spread the buzz. Tell them Pimpin' sent you. Yo, check it out, it's your Cody Nelly. You know what I'm saying? STL, I'm down this ATL right here, alright? So spread the buzz. What's up, y'all? It's Jermaine the Creek. Social Death in the building. Y'all know what this is. Spread the buzz. Hey, it's Gabrielle Union. Spread the buzz. This is your girl Monique, and you just got the buzz with DryerBuzz.com. Atlanta, you just got the buzz behind the buzz with Tyler Perry. It's Dallas Austin, Atlanta. Spread the buzz.
Go now to DryerBuzz.com and follow @DryerBuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.